All right. We are going live on YouTube right now, Sue. So say hi to everybody.
Hi.
And just want to remind you, whatever you say is on live there, not here at the station per se. So.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So you're live on YouTube, everyone. And then not officially here.
And we are international radio. So watch the swear words.
Global.
Yes.
All right. Here we go. Stand by.
Live at the door. So pull up a chair and join us for the Gratitude Café. Positive radio to feed your soul.
Found myself a cheerleader. Benny, I'm looking at your shirt. What do we got here?
A little bit of everything there. Look at this.
Oh,
wait. Oh, sorry. This and this. I won't get my bad. I'm crazy here on my video.
Sandra, welcome to the Zoo. Welcome to YouTube, my love. Welcome to the Gratitude Cafe. I love this. I still am getting used to the whole Zoom thing and, having to do myself up and saying hi to everybody internationally. But it's all fun and all good. How is you? How are you, Benny?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, the boys.
Yeah. Everything's good. Full into summer swing, so to speak. Just handling schedules and another round of other scheduling, with the pandemic and so forth like that. So we're doing all right, though.
Everybody's
phase
good
2
and healthy.
and officially phase 2. Don't forget your mask.
Oh.
And for you, in honor of Coug. See, there you go. There's my Coug one. So there you go.
Yep, yeah, no, I haven't even done that. I've got the yeah.
Well, you don't get out as much as I do, so.
Yeah, well, I'm outside.
Yeah,
well, you know what? That brings up a conversation. I had this because I'm active lifestyle, outside, rollerblading, whatever I'm doing outside, and I'm on the trail a lot. And I see these beautiful humans outside with masks on, and I'm like, y'all need oxygen.
Well,
and
they're still getting it.
Me. I'm going to have a conversation with Dr. Sandra about that because we
need
oxygen.
Of course.
We need oxygen. We definitely need oxygen. All right. So we have a fantastic guest like we do every week. We are going to be jumping in, but really quick, remind all of you, you're here with the Gratitude Cafe, your most loving host, Sue Lundquist. We're talking new perspective, new thoughts, new ideas, and of course, it's a new you. We are doing this for mind, body, health, to inspire you and to educate you. And today we have an incredible guest. We're going to be talking about rest, effective rest. We're going to talk about different types of rest because Dr. Saundra, she's amazing. And the difference between sleep and rest and what that all looks like. And I was so juiced up when I saw this come across my desk. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to have her on the show because the world, we go on autopilot so much, right? And we'll get to that in just a minute. So let me remind all of you guys about my C2C. That is Craziness to Clarity. It's my curriculum. So if you're shedding old beliefs, you have fears, you have limiting beliefs, you've got past traumas, you need self-regulating tools. Of course, I've got that taken care of. I mean, I walk the talk. It's my curriculum. I created it because all these incredible thought leaders out there. But for me, audience, this. I've talked about this so many times. It's about the practicality and being able to self-regulate in the moment. So I created a whole slew of these beautiful tools to help you self-regulate, help you and cheerlead you on, advocate you to be the most confident, best self that you can be. So go to SueLundquist.com/the letter C, the number 2, the letter C. I feel like I need to do like C2C now that I'm on screen.
It's not too shabby. Not too shabby.
Yeah, I'm like, which way? I need a 2 in between or something like that. For those of you that are on live radio, I'm goofing off. And if you see me on video, hi. It's all good. Okay, so back to the Craziness to Clarity template. Please go to SueLundquist.com, C2C, SueLundquist.com/C2C. We have the Evergreen program. It's an online program. We just finished the live mini course. And for those of you who missed that and really wanted to join, we're going to do another one in August. Again, it's free, you guys. So why not jump on? Why not get a bunch of Super Sue love, join the community of all like-minded people and get your answers or your questions answered, I think I was meaning to say. All right, we're going to jump into our guest today. We have Dr. Saundra Dalton-Smith. She is a board certified internal medicine physician, speaker, and author. She's an international wellness expert featured on numerous media outlets, including Prevention, MSNBC, Women's Day, Fox, Fast Company, Psychology Today, and a guest on the Dr. Oz show. She's an author of numerous books, which we're going to be talking about today, including the new book, Sacred Rest. And that's what we're specifically talking about today. So we're going to love on you. We're going to help you recover and reclaim that juicy love about all of you and that rest, that genuine rest. Saundra, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so of course, the official bio, but let's get to know you. The audience knows that I bring these guests on and we want to get to know you and your why. So I'm going to let you take that.
Yes, well, honestly, it was one of those situations where after 10 years of practicing medicine and really not liking the way that medicine was going, and then getting to a place in my own life where I felt like I was burning out. I was spending hours working and had a family that I wasn't enjoying and other things in my life that I wasn't enjoying because I was so focused on the work and just kind of checking off my to-do list that I got to this place where I wanted to see things change. I wanted to not always be pushing pills at my patients, and I wanted to be able to get a deeper look at what was keeping them so tired and really why was I feeling so drained and unsatisfied as well.
And tired, big buzzword. And I went and saw your TEDx talk and I love that. I'd love for you to educate the audience really, for the foundation between rest and sleep. I mean, that was huge in the TED talk. You specifically went into that. And I think that's important to set that foundation because as we go forward. So do you want to have that conversation?
Absolutely. That's the thing. That whole TEDx talk came from, I think for many of us, we use the word sleep and rest interchangeably.
Yep.
We say we're going to go sleep and we're going to go rest, and we're meaning the same thing. And the problem with that is that when I was looking at the research and working with patients, is that there's more than one type of rest. And so when we talk about sleep and rest and have them be one thing, what we're really talking about is just the physical part of rest. And we're not actually discussing all of the 7 types of rest. We're only talking about one of the 7, which then leaves us at risk for being deficient in one of the other 6. And that's where many people are. They go to bed at night, they go to sleep, they wake up the next morning and they wonder why they're still exhausted, why they still feel tired. And the reason being is because their fatigue wasn't purely a physical type of fatigue. It wasn't something that sleep could solve. For example, if you have a sensory rest deficit or a creative rest deficit, sleeping's not going to fix that.
Okay, we're going to go right into those 7. We got to talk about that because people are like, wait, what? There's 7? Wait a minute. And there is. Can we talk about that too, please?
Yes, so I'll start off by naming them and then maybe we can dive into a few of them specifically.
Yeah.
But the 7 types of rest are the physical, mental, and spiritual, emotional, social, sensory, and creative.
Wait, creative. Why did that pop in? So talk about creative, because I'm like, wait a minute, creative.
I think that's the one most people have heard of least. That's the one I tend to be quoted about the most. And I think for most people, if you think about it this way, when we talk about creativity, most of us automatically think about writers and we think about musicians and we think about artists. But the reality is creativity is so much more than that. If you're someone who's a business owner, an entrepreneur in marketing, and you're having to think outside of the box, you're having to be innovative, you're having to, as a teacher, think about a teacher who's teaching a student who's a visual learner and an auditory learner. You're having to creatively present material that can hit both students. So we're all using creativity in multiple ways throughout our life, but that's a energy bucket we pour out of without thinking about how do we pour back into it. And that's when you start having these feelings of feeling drained and you can't explain why you're not satisfied anymore and why you feel bored even though you're full of work, you're staying busy. You're draining that creativity energy resource you have without filling it back up. And creative rest for many of us, we experience it, but we don't know what it is. So when we experience it, we just kind of wash it off as this
that
we're experiencing.
Yeah.
One of the best examples I found when I was doing the research was for people who feel energized when they're around bodies of water. Other people get it when they're at like the mountains, or they're in the woods, kind of just hiking and things like that. But for those who get it at around bodies of water, they're the people who, when they get to the ocean or the lake, they just automatically feel better. They feel something renewed inside of them. And that's what creative rest is. It's the rest we get when we allow beauty to awaken something inside of us. When we allow it to pour back into us, not putting a demand on our creative ability. So it's not like taking a pottery class or a wine and art class where you're having to create something. That's creative work. Creative rest is when you're just letting it speak to you. It's going to a museum, going for a hike in the woods, enjoying beauty for what it does inside of you.
All right, audience, did you get that? I would equate that to going out and grounding my soul, my body, and I love that you've put that under creative rest, because I do that all the time because I'm constantly going. So that so resonates with me. All right, that was creative. What was the other ones? There was
one that many people have not heard of and are greatly being affected by is sensory rest deficit.
That's it. Yes.
So most of our lifestyles now are very sensory enriched, just with our gadgets and the amount of gadgets that we use, whether it's the lights from our computer screens or our smartphones. It can even be the sounds that you're around throughout the day. There's so many sensory inputs that you can have. Someone who maybe is a stay-at-home mom, maybe being touched all day. So with little people climbing up and wanting to be picked up. So there's lots of different ways we get sensory overloaded that many people aren't thinking about. But then the problem is we have the effects of the sensory overload without understanding that we need to have a counteractive, restorative activity to get our senses back into a place of harmony. And just a really simple example that I get a lot of emails from gentlemen about specifically when their wives kind of understand this, particularly women who are moms of small kids. And so they're touched a lot by their children. And they'll say, I don't have a sex life and I don't understand why I don't want to have sex with my husband. I love him. He's hot. I'm hot. We should be having sex regular, but I don't want to be touched. If you're touched all day by little hands, you don't want to be touched by big hands later in the day. And so it's a process of learning how to reclaim their bodies and having some time where they really detach from that excessive amount of touch that they have throughout the day.
Oh my gosh, I can hear the audience going, like light bulb moment. Audience, Saundra and I are on video and I literally popped, I was like tapping my head. It's like, of course, sensory overload. And what comes to my mind too is obviously with all the technology and the kids with sensory overload.
Yes, very much so.
Okay, yeah. So one, I love what you just said to the moms and dads, depending on what that looks like in their life of being touched and all that. I really, really love that. Can we have that conversation about helping the children with their sensory overload and their type of rest? I mean, how can we do that?
Well, I think you really hit a big issue there, particularly with the amount of gadgets that our kids are using throughout the day. And some of it's necessary, a lot of school's done online now. Yep. So some of it's necessary, but the thing is to be aware of how they're responding to it. Because, when a child's a 2-year-old and they're at a birthday party and, 2 hours in the party, they have a temper tantrum and scream their head off. We know this because they've been sensory overloaded. Well, think about it. The same thing happens to your teen after they've played video games for 5 hours, or they've been watching Netflix nonstop all day long. Yeah. It's just they have better control over themselves. But if you notice that your teen, after doing these activities, is very irritable, snapping at everybody, doesn't have the ability to kind of quickly adapt their emotions because they're kind of just on edge, or seems to be more anxious, then you may be seeing the side effects of ongoing sensory overload. There was a study that was really interesting regarding just our notifications on our devices, our smartphones and computers, and how our bodies were responding to them. it was responding in the same way that my body responds as an internal medicine physician when someone at the hospital calls me and my pager goes off and my heart rate goes up and I jump and I'm like, okay, something bad's happening.
Right.
I've got to be ready.
Ready,
Well,
yeah.
should we be responding like that when someone, sends a text on or sends a notification on Instagram that they had a latte and it was beautiful? Do I need to have my fight or flight go into response over that information? But many teens have their notifications set for all of their social media. It's nonstop sensory input.
Yes.
And so it's very easy for them to stay wound up. And so some of the very simple things I recommend doing is limit notifications to the must. Your text messages should really probably be the only notification you must get at that point.
Right.
You can go in and check your social media at certain times during the day, but it is not necessary to have that be a set notification. Another thing is to practice silence at times. If you're in the car driving home, you don't necessarily need to have music or something going all the time. There needs to be a wind down time, particularly for people who work in offices that are loud. It may not be gadgets. It may be you just work in a very engaged office. A lot of office spaces now are open offices. So you hear conversations kind of in the background, other people's phones. You're smelling other people's, perfumes all throughout the day because you're in an open office setting. You need some time before you walk into your home to diffuse all those senses. And so sometimes silence is the first place we all need to start.
Wow. Because I immediately go into all the biochemical that's happening too, because when you have those fight or flight responses, you have that chemical release. And then, because that's the work that I'm into, and then the biochemical releases. And then the people, when I say, well, your body's addicted to the biochemical releases that are coming up. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, because you've been in fight or flight and you're reactive constantly. And I even went through adrenal failure because I had 3 kids back to back and everything was go, 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 go. And it was sensory overload and amongst a bunch of overloads, right? And I love this conversation. Audience, I really invite you to really pay close attention and have that heightened awareness of not only for yourself, but your children. I just employ compassion, especially, if your teens or children, even your husband or wives are being triggered or reactive, go, are you okay? Do you need some quiet time? I even did that. You'll love this, Sandra. When my kids were younger, I literally was like, okay, mama needs a timeout. And I shut the bathroom door because I needed some timeout. And then sooner, within minutes, I hear this knock, 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 knock. And I'm like, babies, I need some time. But that so resonates.
Yes. And you sometimes have to start setting a little bit of boundaries with some of the gadgets. I think I really hate it, I must admit, when I'm in a restaurant setting and I see a family around a table and everybody's got their computer, their smartphone out, kind of typing on it, and nobody's talking and no one's looking at each other. Because one of the types of rest is something we call social rest. It's the rest we get from being in the presence of people who we know get us, love us, care for us, where we're not performing or having to kind of really put on our show. And part of that has to do with the eye-to-eye contact and the kind of the healing component of just eye-to-eye contact. Well, think of what a missed opportunity that is with families. We're getting even more sensory overloaded at this table, looking at our iPads or our computers, and we're not getting the sensory rest on top of that because we're not spending any time eye to eye with each other. And it's really interesting because with couples specifically, one of the things that I discuss within Sacred Rest is that, with couples, many couples, once they get a certain point in their relationship, they don't spend time eye to eye anymore. And when they do spend time eye to eye, it's actually because of something bad. They're either fighting or they're having sex. There's sort of the eye to eye moments.
Yes.
And neither of them allow the level of communication and social rest needed to be able to feel like you're understood. And so that's one of the challenges I often give to couples is spend some time eye to eye with each other. Don't make it weird. It can be 5 minutes where you're just like, you're having some couch time and you're just like, how was your day? What's going on with you? And let them kind of share without you trying to fix it, without you trying to rationalize it or give advice, just letting them have a moment of being in your presence and feeling understood.
Audience, check, check, and check. This is beautiful. I love this conversation because it's truly about genuine, authentic engagement, right? Engagement with the person that's in front of you or with yourself, staying in that awareness that you could be overloaded, whether it's sensory, creative, and having that social rest too. I love that conversation, what you were talking about. When you go into that most family atmospheres, you can rest. It is rest. So put your phones down, have those moments. And I know when my girls, they fought me, I fought and fought and fought for phones. And first it was the iPod or the iPod. Yeah, the iPods with just music, because I didn't want them to do all that social media. And they're like, you know, it was this whole thing. So finally I said, all right. So as they got older, at least I thought that they were getting old. I think it was 17, 8, well, no, maybe it's a little bit younger than that. But then I would say phones in the basket, in the basket. We're having family time. Did I do that all the time? I'm guilty of not all the time, but, and I'm guilty, and I'm going to be a lot more aware now that I've had you on the show and had this conversation for sure. I know for myself, having that time out in nature, you know, I was talking about walking or the water or exercising. That is my downtime. And it is so restful for me, even though my body is walking. I just go into that restful zone. Is that the right terminology?
That's exactly right. And I'm glad you said that, because that is what we have to change. That rest means the cessation of activity or doing nothing. That is not rest. That is just doing nothing in most cases. Rest is restorative activities. What do you do to restore yourself back to the place of being at your best? That is what rest looks like. And so when someone tells me they rested on the weekend and I ask them what they did, and they say, well, I laid on the couch for 5 hours and I watched, a series on Netflix. The next question I ask them is, what got restored?
Did that fill you up?
Yeah,
right?
What got restored? If they can't tell me what got restored, then it probably wasn't rest. Every restful activity, you should leave feeling better than how you entered in one of those 7 areas.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Woo! We're already right at the half of the hour. Okay, Benny, let's take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we are going to keep talking to Dr. Saundra. We did already talk about the 7 types of rest and the difference between. So that was really important. And Dr. Saundra was giving us some tips and tools, because it's the practicality. I love the practicality and tools that we can use immediately. Like, for one, put your phones down. Have an engaging eye-to-eye contact with your friends, family, and all of that. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the 7 lies women tell themselves and how to overcome, and then a bunch of other questions if we could do that as well. So Sue Lundquist here with the Gratitude Cafe. We're going to be right back, you guys.
All right, all clear. And don't forget, we're still on YouTube. So
we're still on. Yeah, thank you for reminding me.
Right. So they'll hear everything,
including my cough.
You have a mute button. Don't forget.
I have a mute button, but I've already coughed. So there we go.
Too late.
Yes. Oh, I love this conversation. And the work that I do, because it's all about real life self-regulating tools. Like we've got all of these incredible thought leaders and beautiful people out there with wisdom and great juicy stuff. And I'm like, that is a great education. And through my process of, not my story, my past, and I just use it as an adjective to describe, from traumas and post-traumatic stress, whatever it is, and figuring out how to self-regulate and navigate through that. I was I was searching out, researching, taking classes to find self-regulating tools to keep me out of fight or flight, to keep me out of reactive states, because I wanted to show up my best, right? And people don't understand that they have a biochemical reaction, and then their body's addicted to it, and they get addicted to the drama. They get addicted to that. Oh, yes, the water cooler. Yeah.
That's one of the hardest things, I think, for many people with their cell phones, because when you then try to tell them they have to take a break from it, they do go through withdrawal. They have a response where they, you know, for a while they feel anxious by not even having it on or near
I think
them.
that's a really good conversation to have, because people, can we do that when we come back?
Sure.
Okay. I know that's not on here, but I think that's really important to have that conversation, because they don't really understand that there is a response that's going on in their body. So if we can just sprinkle in that awareness and go, wait, I'm addicted to the drama. What does that mean? Or I'm addicted to the reaction that I get from Facebook or something like that. Yeah, I'd love to have that conversation. Okay. And we'll talk about 7 lives women. See, that's why I'm trying to look on my little phone. I might have to put my glasses on. My glasses on. Yes, I am not admitting this at all. No. Yes. And I want to remind Sacred Rest, your latest book. Do you want to talk about the rest quiz as well? Or what would you?
Yeah, that would be great. That tends to be very helpful for people. Because after you tell them there's 7, it's like,
okay.
We're coming back in, and something I usually do, or some people need, if you need rest. It's on the song, so you'll hear it. Hang on, here we go.
Yay!
Talk 1150.
I grew up to this.
You've been talking in your sleep, sleeping in your dream, with some sweet love, holding on so
Sandra, I bet you didn't have this expectation. We're goofy here too. We're talking serious stuff, but we're pretty goofy.
All I'm coming from is I mean, if you don't get enough rest, you're going to be talking in your sleep a lot. I mean,
talking in your sleep.
Could be talking about a lot of things.
I love this. All right, guys, welcome back. Sue Lundquist here with the Gratitude Café. And for those of you tuning in internationally, hi. Whether it's on the website or YouTube here. Benny, it's 1150 KKNW on YouTube. Is that right? I'm going to make sure I have the right information.
Yeah, if you just YouTube and throw in our, channel and whatever. Yep, go right to it.
Okay, 1150 KKNW. And if you don't want to do YouTube, you can do www.1150kknw.com. If you're in the car, it's AM 1150, of course, talk radio. Wow, I can't believe how fast the first part of the show went. And Dr. Saundra Dalton-Smith, board certified internal medicine physician. Sorry, love. She's got her latest book. It's Sacred Rest. And the top of the hour, we talked about 7 types of rest and looking at that. And we talked about creative. Did you know that there was creative rest, sensory rest, social rest, and you can actually take a quiz, which I will remind you of later, because I'm totally going to hook you and tease you. We'll do that later. You can also find more information about Dr. Dalton-Smith at drdaltonsmith.com, and I'll get you some other websites as well. Before we left for the break, I alluded to 7 lies women tell themselves and how to overcome. Before we get to that question, because at break, we were talking about the importance of having that awareness and that education that our bodies truly are having a biochemical addictive reaction to the external environments, to the Facebook, to the, water cooler conversation, addicted to the drama. So let's have that conversation, Doc, right? Because it's an important conversation. So people will go, why am I so anxious if I'm not on my phone? Why am I fearful when, I'm going to leave that up to you, love.
Yeah, well, I think that's an important point because, when we're talking about something like sensory rest, some people feel like, oh, well, I'll just, pick a time that I'm not going to use my phone or pick a time that I'm not going to be on electronics. And for many people, if you're used to carrying your phone with you all the time, it's kind of permanently attached to you. And then you decide that I'm going to not use it. You will start feeling a lot of anxiety and a lot of symptoms of withdrawal because of those chemical responses that your body will go through. So it's no different than if I was trying to get someone to kind of detox off of a drug. I have to do almost the same thing when I'm trying to detox someone off of the drama they're used to with their gadgets. They have to have a little bit of a phase out period. So I don't tell them, just not use your phone for 24 hours. They start really having some issues with that. We start doing it in small bits. Let's stop at this time of night, or let's have a period during the day where you don't use your phone. Let's make sure every meal you put it down and you turn it off. Some people have never thought to turn their phone off. Like that's not even something that has crossed their mind as a possibility. But that's one thing about rest. It requires you to take ownership of your personal boundaries. And many people have very weak personal boundaries because they're afraid of confrontation and what will people think, and will I miss out on something? What if this great opportunity hits my inbox and it takes me 5 minutes before I answer?
Instant gratification. Boom, 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 boom. God, yes.
And we have to be willing to take back ownership of our lives, because that's where you get the lifestyle freedom you want. There is no lifestyle freedom if your gadgets are your slave masters.
Oh, did you hear that, folks? Take your power back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sitting here, and of course now I'm on video, and I've got my eyes rolled up to the side of my head, and I'm like, oh, there's so many things. I'm going to start putting, because I talk about boundaries, interpersonal boundaries a lot, and the language around that. And I love what you said about, people feel bad, or they because I talk about boundaries and being able to language it in a compassionate way. So talk to yourself in a compassionate way, and make those boundaries around your gadgets. I think that's super important. That was beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you so much. 7 lies, what we women are telling ourselves. Where are we going with that one?
Yes, that was actually my very first book that I wrote. And there was just a lot of areas I know within my own personal life where I knew that I wasn't getting any type of gaining any ground on because I kept kind of circling these same thought patterns. And when I talked to other women, particularly professional women, we all kind of had these similar patterns that we continued to return to. And I'll just kind of name a few of them.
Okay.
One is that perfection is the goal. I think for the longest time, I was held in this mindset of, if I can't do it perfect, I don't want to do it at all. And the problem with that is, if you're waiting to try to get it as perfect as possible, you could be missing the prime opportunity to get something done. I know a lot of the things that I have done in my life that people look at it and say, wow, I wish I could do that, or you make it look so easy. It's the reason being that I did it is because I wasn't afraid to not be perfect doing it. I was okay to do it at the best of my ability. And so the challenge is to exchange perfection for excellence. My level of excellence may look different than your level of excellence, but I can be proud of giving it my best. I can't give it your best, and I can't make it perfect, because perfect is a moving target, because what you think is perfect is not going to be what I think is perfect. So I'm never going to hit it.
Yeah,
because I can't, even if I hit it for me, I won't hit it for you or the next person I'm trying to satisfy. But I can always reach my level of excellence and know that I've accomplished that. And
for you as the individual. That's
exactly.
Brilliant.
And that was a game changer just in my overall career, because then you take all of those excuses out the window, you throw them out about why you can't do things, because you do it at the level that you're at.
I love that you said, and what's coming up for me, it's just my little monkey mind, I call it the drunk monkey, the bad roommate, whatever in there. And you know what my nervous system did? It changed the language. It said, there's parts or aspects of my life, well, I just don't want to make a mistake. It's the same thing.
Trying to make it perfect.
It's the same thing. Guess what? You learn the most from your mistakes.
Yes.
You really do. So have the community and have the people around you. So when you make those mistakes, they're going to communicate with you with compassion and love and educate you. And then you don't take it personally, right? You
Absolutely.
just learn from it. Oh, I love that. Where should we go here? Understanding healthy work rest ratio. What's that about?
Yeah, well, work rest ratios, I think for many of us, when we look at how much rest do I actually need? because you can't rest all the time. You
Yeah.
won't
How
really
do you
get
know that?
anything
How do you
done.
figure that
So,
out?
you know,
Yeah.
how much rest do I actually need? And I always tell people it really just depends on how you feel. When I wake up in the morning and I feel like, yes, let's do this. I'm energized. I'm excited about my day. I'm looking forward to the things that are to come. I'm not feeling like, oh, here's another Monday or here's another weekday.
Right.
I'm not waiting for the weekend because I feel like I'm only living on the weekends, or waiting for a vacation because I feel like that's the only time I get to have my life back.
Oh, wait,
When
you
I
said something super juicy. Audience, did you see that? I mean, there was a lot of juiciness in there, but just living my life on the weekend. Live your life always. I love that. And then you're giving us the tools to rest, to be able to do that and show up our best and take our power back,
Yes,
right? I love that. Okay,
absolutely. Because
please.
I think that's where many of us find ourselves. I know for me personally, that's where I found myself. And when I'm asked to go into corporations to speak with their employees because they're burned out, basically,
Oh,
they're
sure.
not engaged, and they are bringing me in to help with employee engagement. This is the conversation I have with them, because what many people are finding is that people are not being disengaged because they don't like their job. They're disengaged because they are not in harmony with their life. So that's where I spend most of my time in that work life integration, and helping people see how do these two things work together to build something beautiful. Not that they are in a balance with each other, but balance, they're on either side, kind of one's up, one's down.
Oh,
That is not what we want. We want them in harmony with each other. Just as in when you listen to music, you know, there's rest or pauses within music, and that's what gives it the beat, the rhythm. That's what gives it, as we say, you know, in jazz, the flavor that goes with the music that makes it exciting, that makes it enjoyable, that makes you want to dance. That's the life people want. A life that makes them have periods where they want to dance and
make
periods
me
where they
want
want
to
to relax.
dance, doctor. Make me want to dance all day
And that's that
long, jumping
ratio.
in
You need
puddles.
you need the stuff that you do where you are pouring out of your gifts and your talents and all the goodness that's inside of you. And then you need time when you let other goodness pour back into you so that you can then come back at your best and do it all over again.
Oh, I love this. Um, okay, so we're talking. I was reading all my notes here and questions because I love all this. So I know at the break I was teasing you guys a little bit. Dr. Saundra Dalton-Smith has a rest quiz that you can take, and quite honestly, it's restquiz.com.
Yeah, it's simple.
I love that.
We
How
were
did you
real
get
creative
that?
with that.
I know, but that's amazing. That's awesome. So it was meant to be that you guys got that. That's awesome. So go to restquiz.com, and you can also learn a lot more about that, and learn more about yourself. So guys, you guys hear me talk about tools. This is your tool. It's a free tool for you to really get clear on who you are and how you're showing up to yourself, how you're showing up to your family, how you're showing up professionally. And Dr. Sandra was talking about burnout, withdrawal, all of that. This tool and the quiz and your book, and it is Sacred Rest. The latest book is Sacred Rest. Mm-hmm. All of that is going to help you with that awareness and help you advocate for yourself. So take it on, people. Sacred Rest. Silent killers in the workplace. Should we have that conversation?
Yes, I think that's really the heart of what I do now. As I stated, I was in traditional clinical medicine for 20 years, but the bulk of what I do now is more in the workplace and in how our environment and our kind of personal lives and our lack of rest in most cases and rest deficits are affecting our ability as leaders, as well as for our teams, and helping them to be able to achieve at their highest and to be their most productive.
Especially in our COVID environment, all of our workers and
it's even more complex now. It's even more. It was an issue. It was an issue when we were inside of our own offices, but now with people actually having to navigate having their kids home and hold business meetings. You know, we see examples sometimes on TV where our TV anchors are, you know, have their kids run in the middle of them reporting, because it's very hard to kind of separate this out a little bit with the situation that we're in right now. And so some of the silent killers in the workplace before COVID, when we were actually inside buildings, included some of the things related to sensory overload. Many offices are very toxic with the amount of light, the amount of blue light, specifically if people aren't wearing glasses or using screen protectors and things. Some of them included the ergonomics related to just the body positioning at their desk.
Yes.
There's an increased number of people who are complaining of back and neck pain. And a lot of that has to do to a physical rest deficit. You know, we talked about passive physical rest and the sleeping, but then there's also active physical rest, which has to do with the relaxation of muscles, the circulatory system, the lymphatic drainage. And so large number of people who are experiencing a lot of back and neck pain because of things like not thinking about, I'm short, my desk is up, I'm sitting kind of perched up, maybe I need a footrest under my desk. You know, these are things people aren't even thinking about, but because of their body positioning being improper, they're ended up getting a lot of lower back pain, and you leave a job after 20 years aching, or you end up having to go to a doctor and have unnecessary procedures done because of something that could have been corrected in the moment just by being aware of those things. Carpal tunnel syndrome, there's so many different risk that you can get where it kind of props things up to put them in proper alignment. Not just the sensory, but when we look in the workplace, we also have an increased number of people who end up having creative rest deficits. Large part of that being is many walls and buildings are still the gray, the brown, the beige, and there's no beauty for inspiration. And so we're always telling people, you know, you can't always dash out to go to the beach or, you know, go to the mountains, even if that's the area where you get creative rest. But the science showed when they did the research, the studies were done where they did MRIs of the brains of people who experience that creative rest with water and oceans. Well, their MRI imaging had the same chemical response when they looked at images of the ocean. And so put it on your desktop, you know, lock screen or your phone lock screen. Have a picture. And the interesting thing was, it wasn't just the imaging of the water, but it was the aqua colors. So some people need to really, like your shirt, it makes me think of
tropical
of aqua and those colors. So consider putting a picture up in your office that is that color. Consider painting a wall in your office. Some of the most innovative, creative companies now, you'll notice, have very bright and lively colored walls.
Yes.
This is the reason why. They have come to the understanding that you cannot ask people to be innovative and at the top of their creative game without giving them the creative rest they need to do it.
Ooh, that was so good. You know, the question that's coming up is I would like to invite those professional organizations and the culture of those organizations to really employ these tools that you're offering. I mean, how can they, I mean, one, obviously get Sacred Rest, the book, and do all of that. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I love that conversation and really, and these are big words for me, authentically and genuinely engage with the culture of what's going on. And even if you're an entrepreneur too, do that for yourself as well, especially, I don't know, because you are your own worst and best, right? Because I'm like, where can I put a teal room, you know, a teal wall in here, or wear teal? So how can we encourage people to shift gears and take accountability and responsibility? I mean, obviously getting the book, but I want to have that conversation and noodle with you a little bit. So the audience is like, oh, okay. Because it's the squeaky wheel. I'm like, we're giving you some good, juicy stuff here, guys. And of course, go get the book, Sacred Rest. But
yeah, well, honestly, well before anyone ever gets a book, I always tell even my patients, start with the quiz. Because I think for most people, it's eye-opening just to do that self-assessment, because it's not like a 5-second quiz. And it's an in-depth analysis of where you're currently at. It takes about 5 minutes to complete the whole quiz.
Perfect.
Very detailed. And what happens at the end, you get a report that tells you which of the 7 types of rest you're most efficient in. You actually get scored on all 7. And with a kind of a grid to let you know where you fall with each of the 7. And the number one response I get when people get that is, you know what, I didn't even know this type of rest existed.
Yes.
But now that you've put a name to it and I read it, you know, because we describe it even on the quiz. You don't have to do anything to get that bit of information. So automatically people are able to see, you know what, I didn't even know that existed. And yes, I do need that. And then it's up to them to decide how to get rest in that area. In the book, Sacred Rest, I do go over the details of it and give examples of how to really apply it to every part of their life. But as I stated, in my current work that I'm doing, a large amount of the work that I do ends up kind of in these group training sessions, because what I'm finding is most people, it's affecting companies, I should say, at a level that most companies don't realize how not utilizing their and encouraging their manpower to be at its best is hurting their bottom line.
Oh, well,
and so I'm most
brilliant.
encouraged
Yes.
when companies when they look at everything I'm doing in the TEDx talk and the book, and they go to Dalton-Smith.com and they see the work that I'm doing for high achievers. Those are the groups that I work with. High achievers who are not getting the results they know they could get. And part of it's the reason is because they just don't feel motivated anymore. They don't feel like they have the energy to go any higher or to do any more. And so it's just a matter of personal energy management, getting a true understanding of that. And I love it when a company brings me in and they say, look, this is our C-suite staff, and they're awesome and they are knocking it out the park, but they're also all exhausted and they're depressed in many cases.
Yeah.
And we need some help getting them back up to where they could be. And that's the work that I love doing. I'll do it with them, and then usually they have me do it with their team. So it ends up kind of being this group effort to move the whole company to this better place. And honestly, it improves engagement and retention, because happy people that feel like they are producing at a level that's benefiting their company want to stay there.
Of course. So I'm like audience, advocating for the audience and the business out there, that ask yourself the question: do you want to have more productivity? Do you want to have happy employees? Do you want to have satisfied? You use the word harmony, not balance. Yeah. I like that. I because it's about harmony. It's not about the balance of up or down.
Flow.
It's
flow
all
together.
harmony, all harmony, just like the jazz. And I think that's important, to ask yourself that genuine question, especially if we're talking about the culture of your company, your business. Do you personally want to be more productive? Do you want to make more money? Well, you've got to take accountability and responsibility for that, and get all the 7 areas of rest and define what that is. And having this conversation, it's just, it's like that squeaky wheel. We're going to get you on that quiz, and it is restquiz.com. So go to restquiz.com and really get clear on who you are, where you're at right now. There's no judgment. It's just, here's the quiz. Let's get you clear, and then we'll give you the tools that you can then change. I love that. Love that.
And you can't fail it.
Yeah.
I get emails that say, I failed your quiz. It's like, it's not that kind of quiz.
What?
You can't fail it. It's a personal assessment. You just have to see where are you at now. It's a starting point.
Right.
Because you just take that starting point and you go from there.
Oh, I love it. Well, what else is coming? We've got a couple more minutes here, about 7 more minutes. What else is coming up for you in this conversation? I've got a couple questions in my head, but I also wanted to kind of give the table to you if there was other questions or things that you wanted to share.
Well, I would probably say the 2 types of rest we haven't really hit on that I find that tend to be very high for many people. One is mental rest and the other is emotional rest. And I'll start with mental rest, basically being mental rest is, let me explain it this way. A mental rest deficit, you can probably tell if you have one, because you try to go to bed at night and your head is jumping around on all of this stuff. You can't get your cerebral space to kind of shut up and go to that quiet spot. I always like to use this imagery. For many of us, our brains are kind of like a river that someone's thrown a pebble in. There's these waves that are always just going and going and going. And we really want to get to that point where our mental space is like the calmness of a river, where it's just still.
Bring it, Doc. How? Oh my gosh.
Most of us, honestly, most of us really have to get to the point of understanding that you have the ability to kind of hone your mental thought processes down to kind of a single meditative thought. And to being able to do that is how most of us would have to get our brains to shut up. Now,
Okay.
something I love doing is brain dumping, as some people call it, or mind dumping. Basically, if you have trouble falling asleep at night and your head's going through all these different things you're trying to keep up with, just to have a notepad or something where you're going to jot it down, just so you're kind of taking the onus off of your brain to hold on to the information and putting it on something concrete so the brain can let it go.
I love
But,
that.
you know, for some of us, that information isn't like tactical. It's not like our to-do list. It's like our negative self-defeating thoughts that are rummaging through our head, things that are, you know, we're thinking
Dump
about
it. Get rid of
criticisms
it.
and stuff.
Yes.
And so one thing that really is helpful with that is to pick a word that signifies who you know yourself to be, not who those lies are telling you you are,
Yes.
and what you believe to be true about yourself. And it should be one word, because if it's this big long sentence, then that kind of keeps the brain active. So it may, that one word might be love, it might be peace, it might be confident, it might be capable. You pick whatever the word is. It needs to be meaningful to you. And whenever your mental space tries to kind of jump around, as we call it monkey brain, jump around to all these different thoughts,
Right.
you bring it back to that one word.
Oh, wait, audience, did you hear that? Superpower tip. Dr. Sandra gave us a superpower tip. So when you have that monkey mind going, you're not resting before sleep, right? One, you can have a pad of paper or something, not your phone. Get off your phone. Have a pad of paper. Go to the pen and the paper, you guys. Do that. Dump all of that. But you're also saying get a word that elicits that feeling, right? Am I getting that right?
Yes, that's
I'm
exactly
so gonna
right.
use
You
that.
basically, you're telling yourself where you want to go, and you're refusing to let your brain take you down a path you don't want to go.
Oh, love that. What's your word, guys? Send me a note. Do this on Facebook. I would love to know what your words are. I'm totally going to post that question. I want to engage people because that's a great superpower tip. Really just hone in on one word, not a
And
bunch.
it's simple. It's simple. It's almost like meditating on a word, but without having to kind of think about it as meditation if that's not something you're into. It's really just refocusing your brain to go back to a place that I call it your mental sanctuary. Go back to the place where your brain gets quiet and peaceful.
Homeostasis, that kind of harmony. Get that beautiful brain of yours calm down, my lovely ones. I love that. Oh, what's your word? Do you have
My word is usually peace.
Oh, I love that. Ah, love that. All right, guys, that's a superpower tip. I'm so going to use that. I'm going to be laying in bed, and as soon as my monkey mind starts going and thinking about the tasks and all that other stuff, I'm going to get a word. I'm going to think about that. I love that. Thank you.
My
I
word,
love
if I'm about to go on like a stage, sometimes I'll get these opportunities. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's a lot of people. I don't
Yay!
usually get stage fright, or anything, but sometimes you'll get those opportunities that are kind of just way out there. And my word at that time will be capable. That's why that word came up.
Oh, I love that.
So
You're
I'm telling
using...
myself that I am prepared for this. I'm capable.
Yes, I'm capable. I can do this. Oh, I love that. So audience, did you catch that? She's using her words to cue her body, her mind, and her body, because it's all in harmony, your language, right? To really get in alignment and taking your power back versus the monkey mind and all of that.
And it changes how you respond. Because if I'm sitting there the whole time in the green room thinking, oh my goodness, there's 5,000 people out there. Oh my goodness, I'm so scared. That's not going to have me show up confident.
No, not at all.
But if I'm sitting that whole time thinking I'm capable, you walk out there like Superwoman. You walk out there empowered and ready to go. And the whole energy is different because
you're totally aligned. Yes. I love that. Superpower tip, you guys. That was amazing. We've already run out of time. I love this conversation. All right, you guys. Sacred Rest is the book, and you can find all of Dr. Sandra's information. Of course, go to restquiz.com. You can find more information at drdaltonsmith.com if you'd like. And seriously, audience, I want to know what your word's going to be when you go on stage, when you go in a corporate meeting. I'm capable, whatever that word is. Thank you so much for being here and educating me. I had a lot of aha moments and I got some really good tools. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It's been a joy chatting with you.
Thank you. All right, guys, Sue Lundquist here with the Gratitude Cafe. We're going to be back next week. But until then, each of you are a gift. Get out there and share yourself with the world.
Cool. All clear.
Yay! Thank you so
Awesome.
much. Oh, I love this conversation. I absolutely love it. And it wasn't